All right, here's a segue. I've been downloading a bunch of SPC and VGM files and listening to them in Fubar 2000 lately because that's fun.
Yes.
Which has led me to a newfound appreciation for the synth chip and the Genesis.
Yes, the Yamaha something or other. I can't remember
Genesis
exactly what it is.
Music is just fucking like hard-hitting and rude and crunchy and dirty and awesome.
But there comes a point when it can be too crunchy and dirty.
Yeah, I suppose so. But you wouldn't know it playing the, what is it called?
The Sega Genesis Flashback.
Which, for people watching the video, you've got one right here.
Yes. Here. This is it.
It's just like, I guess, whatever. This was happening pre-NES Classic, but post-NES Classic, it's like everybody is rushing to make tiny, retro, kitschy emulation consoles.
Can I find this at my local Walgreens or CVS or Target or?
I'm sure you can eventually.
Yeah. So this thing's not out yet.
That's weird.
It's not out yet. I had disassembled that, so that's.
You took it apart.
That's what I was
You
gonna
took it apart.
So I'm assuming Sega officially licensed all this stuff to them.
Yes.
I can't really
I
get
would hope so.
away with this.
At Games has been making Genesis consoles for I think about a decade now or close to it.
Wait, what do you mean, like real Genesis consoles?
Well, so ones that'll have pack-in games, ones that'll play carts, but yeah, licensed Genesis consoles.
So this thing has a cart slot
Yeah.
on it. This will play carts?
Sure.
Have you tried that?
I have.
You must have tried that. You have Genesis carts.
I tried it.
What? This is just a weird collection of games to put on the cover. Like Mortal Kombat and Phantasy Star 4 are like thrown out here on the side. And
those
Sonic,
are, yeah, I mean,
obviously,
okay, sure. Those all make sense.
Phantasy Star 3,
Uh-huh.
2,
Yeah,
Golden Axe, Sonic 2,
Yes.
Shining Force,
I'm
Shinobi 3.
Is that Collins?
I guess these are all good, but
That's
it's
Collins.
weird that the design of this cover.
I don't know.
is-
It's also got columns 3. Don't
I like
worry.
how it says HD on it too. Like,
Oh,
It
that's
doesn't
what
have
you
an
love?
HDMI slot.
Don't worry, Matt.
I think it always did. It always
Plug
said,
into TV.
Okay. That's probably how you would use that thing.
Idiots. So we're just to talk about the box before we get to the nitty gritty. This is one of the most misleading packages I have ever seen in my time covering hardware, anything.
Can you not plug it into the TV?
So okay, if you were just to look at this, you would assume, okay, this is a Sega Genesis. I'm expecting Sega Genesis games, and it says 85 games. I can expect 85 Sega Genesis games.
One would hope.
That is not the truth.
Yeah.
There are 45 Genesis games on here. There are 28 shovelware bullshit awful games.
Like non-Sega games?
Yeah. Let me read the titles.
I remember when this got announced not that long ago, like sometime in the last month. We read off a bunch of those games, and like a bunch of them were just like, what, this is what?
Yeah, some were like Master System games, I think.
Well, that's the thing.
Well,
like,
okay, so that's the different
another
thing.
thing.
there are some Master System games, but some of them are just like from out of nowhere.
Some Master System and some Game Gear games. So the shitty
Wait, Game Gear too?
Yeah, and the pixels aren't the proper dimension. They're like rectangular pixels.
Right.
So it looks ugly as shit. The crap that they've put on here is so fucking bad, and it's published by Tectoy, which is this Brazilian company that's worked with Sega forever, and they have put out some good hardware in Brazil, but they've also just created a bunch of shit, or I've hired teams to create shitty games to conflate their things that have built-in, collections of games, right? These things are so bad. Like there's this game called Spider on there. That's a very innocuous name. It's not it's not the worst. I mean, there's been a Spider the video game, like whatever. There's a cake and there's a wall, and there are spiders crawling down the wall, and you have to move a cursor and press a button on them. If you miss one, the spiders eat cake, game over.
That sounds great.
That sounds exhilarating.
There's one that is, I think, it's called like Fish Tank Observatory. I think you just watch fish swim around a tank.
That I could maybe get into. That sounds
That's
all right.
ahead of its time, man.
There's one called like Yawning Pterodactyl or something like that.
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Balls.
Did they? So this company.
that's my name.
This company produced all these games themselves, or
At Games did not produce them. I believe Tectoy was the publisher for all of them. I didn't play all of them, so I don't know for certain, but their logo popped up on all the ones I played.
Love how the batteries are not included.
The batteries are not included, and you need a fucking screwdriver to get into the controller to put them in. And I got an email from the company saying, "Oh, you need a screwdriver due to safety regulations." Of course. What the fuck?
Like every other battery operated product on the market is violating safety regulations.
Yeah,
then.
good for At Games for sticking to their guns. And I hate to just like be a real negative asshole about this thing, but fuck this.
Well, how much is this thing?
$80.
Yeah.
No
Oh,
way.
boy.
The packaging is so misleading. It's so misleading. And then
I
there's
can't
more.
get over that thing that says HD.
Yeah.
It says a 720p output.
Right.
That's like saying the original Doom is HD because it plays on my monitor. That's really big. That's so weird.
I'll give him credit for at least doing wireless controllers.
Yes,
which
but
Nintendo did not.
But let's talk about this controller. So yes, you need AAA batteries, which is stupid, and you need a screwdriver to get in it, which is dumb. But all of that aside, the biggest problem with these controllers is every individual button has to be pressed twice before it'll function.
What?
I'm sorry.
Every time you turn it on.
Oh.
What?
Huh.
I'm sorry.
That's right. So it's not like I hit A twice and then all the buttons work.
Right.
For every button
That
I
means-
have to use.
That
So,
makes the A button work.
so I turn it on and I go like this. It is so, and so the company has and the Genesis games they're dropping frames left and right.
So that was I was waiting for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
Jeff borrowed that thing from you briefly and hooked it up, and we messed with it. And
yeah.
dude, it does not run Genesis games properly.
No, it does not
at all.
It drops games left and right and frames left and right.
And like the music sounds super jacked up. Like
I
only saw him play Sonic 1, but it did not sound like Sonic 1.
So the thing with the Genesis you have to understand is the original Model 1 that has the high definition graphics thing up here. There's two different Model 1s. One has that,
Wait, really?
one does not. Yeah.
Huh.
So after that model, Sega actually changed the sound hardware inside. So even Sega's own Genesis systems, especially the Model 2 and Model 3, will sound far different from the original Model 1. So
They're
it's
trying to reduce cost, or what were they doing?
it's a good question. I would have to assume it was cost related. So Genesis games can sound different to different people. That said, like this didn't sound awful to me. People have dumped on At Games' Genesis audio stuff before, but it doesn't sound quite right. Like I would go to YouTube and play some of my other Genesis games. When I owned one in parallel. This is sort of very high pitched and tinny.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sharp. It's almost a little bit painful to listen to certain sound effects.
Does that apply to cartridge games too that you've put in? Have you tried?
Yes.
So like if you stuck a Sonic cart, in
it's
that
not the
thing,
ROMs, it's the emulation. So
right?
yeah,
So
no matter
it would run.
no matter what you do,
it
yeah,
would run the cart just as badly as it runs the. Okay.
Yeah, and things are very strange with the cart as well. So and this is something that people jumped on me because they don't understand how this thing works. One of the complaints in my review is that you can only put in games when the system is off. Now, if this was just a traditional console, yes, duh, that makes sense.
Sure.
But this has an operating system, and like the Retron 5, it'll dump a cart to RAM. So it's got a software layer to account for that. You shouldn't have to turn it on and off, and that becomes a problem when you have a cart that's dirty and you put it in and it can't dump it properly. You can't just take it out, reseat it, and let it do the dump process again, even though that should be technically possible. So you turn it off, you turn it back on. It reads a game successfully. The thing with Genesis carts is they will sometimes contain multiple versions of a game ROM on it to account for different regions or whatever.
Weird, yeah.
So when it dumps one game, in the cartridge game screen, it'll show like anywhere from like 2 to 10, like I saw like 8 copies of the same game
Off one cart.
Right, and it's like, I guess I'll pick this one. And I haven't like found any like weird versions, having picked around, but it's like there's some weird oversight going on here. And that also extends to how you navigate the UI. So it has a menu on the left with categories, and on the right is the array of games. You navigate the array of games on the right using the D-pad, but you can only navigate the categories using the B and C buttons.
Okay.
So you scroll through a menu using B and C when you've got a perfectly functional D-pad right here. So that's just, it's so unintuitive, right? And like the first games you see on the list are the shitty pack-in games. It's all these little things that add up, yeah. And then, so last night I decided I want to know what the hell this thing is made of. And so I opened it up.
Oh, wow. Hey.
And
didn't screw it back together.
Is that a Raspberry Pi? What is that?
No, but
so-
that's a tiny little main board.
So the first thing I noticed on the board is that it has a USB port. And I thought,
Oh, sure.
oh, sure.
You got it.
So I said, okay, it's got a USB port. So I plugged it into my computer and it pulls it up as essentially a ADB device, which is Android. And
Okay.
I was able to eventually read the NAND flash ROM and see what is stored on here. It is an Android-based system. I couldn't actually see anything except for cache files, so this game will allow you to rewind a few seconds while you're playing a game, or it'll do save states, if I remember correctly. And so that I could see that stuff, but I couldn't see like the emulators it was using. Like most of the files that were already written on there were hidden, but I could see the folders, and it's definitely Android. The device that it pulled up in my driver property screen was for a Rockchip 3036, I believe. There is no Rockchip 3036 on this system. And the processor that I believe is in charge of everything is this thing called the Monkey King 3.6, a chip I could find no information about. So I'm pretty sure they're spoofing a legit chip to run this thing. I can't say that for certain. That's not me
Wow.
whatever. I'm not making that claim,
Okay.
but The device that pulled up on my computer is not present on this board as far as I can tell.
Why are there slots for the controllers?
You can use original controllers.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's, of course, everybody would. Why wouldn't you? Because everybody has those laying around.
Right.
I do.
But then, so I'm plugging in the USB port, and then I notice with the lid flip down, I get up and I'm like, oh wait, the light is on. So wait, what happens if I plug this into my TV through the USB port on the circuit board and not use the power brick that they sent? Well, lo and behold, it works over USB.
Still works.
So therefore, this company cares so little about putting out the best product they can that the convenient USB power has been effectively nulled.
That's so weird.
Due to their manufacturing or their lack of vision or whatever.
Yeah.
Gross.
Will the controllers run if you have it USB powered?
Yeah.
Do you think? So you could actually just take this little chip out and maybe unhook this and then throw it into your TV just permanently?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Sweet.
I don't see why not. You could.
This is the kind of thing that
I don't know why you would.
gets built into like hotel TVs to let people play in
Sure.
64 then. So
Sure.
$80, man.
$80, and I hate to be like so down about something when I don't like it, but the fact that this thing is being packaged the way it is, it's not being upfront with what is actually inside of it, and they've cut so many corners on so many levels that it's kind of insulting because they're doing this in the wake of the NES Classic.
That's what it really is. Like, there's just something opportunistic about this because,
Yes.
like, there's like a heightened sort of public demand for stuff like this, and people are going to see this and they're like, "Yeah, I like the Genesis
Right.
almost as much as the Super NES. Maybe I'll buy that thing because here
Right.
it is."
So they cobbled together, their knowledge from the past, their crappy software that they've had forever. The sort of, I mean, I don't know if they've been doing Android-based stuff for a while, but that seems to be what they've gone with here now. And they didn't really take it full circle, and they've said, okay, well, we're gonna fix this before launch. We are aware of the bad frame rates. We're aware of the controller issue. All these things you're saying are wrong with it. Yes, you're right.
Okay, so
Wow.
this thing is how far off from release?
I think it comes out September.
Okay.
Now, because it's Android-based, that means there's software that can be rewritten on here. I don't know if they've started manufacturing or not. If they can put this out and the emulation works the way it should, this device is somewhat attractive. But it's still very problematic for the way that it's packaged and the way that it is sort of not a fully realized product in that it's leaving opportunities on the cutting room floor.
Well, I
such
mean,
as
like
the USB power.
the controller is not good,
Right.
and there's a lot of OS issues. Like, it sounds like a
With
lot to fix in a month.
with the USB hookup, though, there's at least a chance that somebody might be able to completely rewrite this thing to make it actually be
Absolutely.
way better.
Absolutely. But at that point, you're spending $80 to do
Right.
something that you could do
Yeah.
with a Raspberry
Yeah.
Pi for
Yeah.
far cheaper.
Yeah, totally.
And even the NES Classic can be hacked to run other systems now as well. It's not even just NES. So, I mean, I don't know if you have one of those. Obviously, they're hard to get.
Yeah.
So this thing is kind of upsetting, and there's this weird, not to name names or anything, there are people on YouTube who are giving this very positive reviews, and it's very confusing. And so there's a lot of people defending this and getting angry at people like myself for saying this thing is garbage because this
other guy,
they want to
tell
believe.
the truth.
They want to believe,
Yeah.
and I hope for the people that want this that it comes out in a better state that it's in. Just know that you're not getting 85 Genesis games because the company is lying to your face. That's my biggest
super
takeaway.
crappy.
I'll hold off my Saturn emulator in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the day that Jeff grabbed that thing and messed with it, I just watched him and said, "Oh, that thing sucks."
Yeah.
Okay, but then I saw your write up on GameSpot and it had a brutal headline, and I was like, we should probably get him in here and perform a public service and talk about that thing.
Nice.
Yeah. If you try to play Super Street Fighter 2, that's not going to work, buddy. Can't do that either.
Wait, the cart?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't.
I think that game has bank switching going on with its memory to account for more space on the cart, and so that doesn't actually function properly here. Likewise, flash carts won't work because it dumps the game to RAM, so you can't use like your EverDrive or anything like that.
Man, just long list of issues with this thing.
Yeah,
Do not buy. Which
That's-
I think is what your headline said.
and until anything is fixed and the price goes down, do not buy.
Oh, all right, good to know.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks. The Genesis deserves better.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful system.
Yeah.
It can be. It can be.
Jason, I see a hand motion down there.
Yeah, the hand motion was for a break.
Oh, you want me to break it?
Break something. We can break that, or we could take a break.
Oh, you want to take a? All right, so we're gonna take a break here and break this crappy fake Genesis, and then feel better about ourselves. We'll be right back.